When Japan launched its surprise attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, its military high command believed they had achieved an irreversible victory. For months, Tokyo's war planners and admirals spoke with confidence, convinced that America lacked the will to fight a prolonged Pacific War. Yet, as the tide began to turn, the same men who had once mocked American industrial capability and morale would come to recognize a power far greater than they had imagined. Reports intercepted by American intelligence and later recovered Japanese documents reveal that senior officers within the Imperial Navy began to speak in disbelief by late 1942. They had misjudged the sheer scale of U.S. production, the speed with which damaged fleets were repaired, and the morale of a population that had been underestimated from the beginning. By mid-1943, the Japanese High Command began to grasp that the war's momentum had shifted irreversibly. The loss at Midway was not just a naval defeat, it was a psychological collapse. Vice Admiral Chuchi Nagumo, who had commanded the Pearl Harbor strike, reportedly confided to aides that Japan's age of initiative was over. Japan's naval intelligence units estimated that the United States was producing aircraft at a rate of more than 5,000 per month, while Japan's entire industry could not match that in half a year. A secret post-battle report circulated within the Imperial Navy stated, "We cannot match a nation that can replace in months what takes us years." This quiet admission was among the first signs that the Japanese leadership truly understood what they were facing, a war of endurance that no amount of courage could overcome. As the war dragged on, American power revealed itself not only through machines but through coordination. The Japanese command was astonished by the ability of the United States to fight on multiple fronts, Europe, the Pacific, and even North Africa, without visible strain. General Hideki Tojo, the wartime prime minister, is recorded in cabinet minutes as saying, "The enemy's productive energy exceeds the imagination of man." By 1944, Japanese officers were shocked by the precision and scale of American carrier task forces. The Battle of the Philippine Sea became a devastating confirmation of their fears. American radar technology, naval logistics, and pilot training programs had reached levels that Japanese strategists could not comprehend at the war's outset. For the first time, members of the High Command began to admit privately that Japan's victory had been impossible from the beginning. The impact of American air raids on Japan's home islands deepened this realization. Tokyo, Osaka, and Nagoya burned under relentless B-29 bombardment, and the Japanese military command could no longer deny the industrial superiority of the United States. American bombers flew higher, faster, and farther than Japan's air defenses could reach. In confidential meetings, surviving diaries show Admiral Somu Toyota remarking, "We believed we understood war, but we did not understand modern war." Even Emperor Hirohito, usually detached from operational planning, began receiving reports detailing the country's shrinking fuel reserves and collapsing naval logistics. It was in these moments that the phrase, "American power," stopped referring merely to weapons. It symbolized the unstoppable machine of democracy and industry working in unison. When the atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945, the psychological impact on Japan's leadership was immediate and absolute. The High Command, already reeling from years of attrition, confronted a force that defied comprehension. General Torishiro Kawabe, Deputy Chief of Staff of the Imperial Army, recorded in his surrender-era notes, "The Americans have harnessed the energy of the universe itself." To many in Japan's War Council, the atomic bomb was not just a new weapon, it was the visible expression of a nation whose science, economy, and political unity had reached unmatched power. That recognition shattered the last illusions of parity. Within days, Emperor Hirohito made his unprecedented radio address, acknowledging a new and most cruel bomb and urging surrender to avoid the total extinction of the Japanese people. In post-war interrogations, American intelligence officers collected testimony from Japanese admirals and generals reflecting on how completely they had underestimated their enemy. Admiral Nagano, once a key architect of Japan's expansionist strategy, admitted, "We were deceived by our own arrogance. We saw Americans as traitors, not warriors. We were wrong." Similar sentiments echoed in the memoirs of General Yumizu and Admiral Yanai, who confessed that Japan's planners had studied the wrong lessons from history, believing that industrial nations were weak in spirit. The Japanese High Command's understanding of American power had evolved from ridicule to awe. What had begun as a campaign of ambition ended in the reluctant admiration of a nation's unity and ingenuity. By 1946, as war crimes trials unfolded in Tokyo, surviving officers spoke candidly about how their perception of the United States had transformed. They described American soldiers as both disciplined and inventive, their commanders as pragmatic rather than rigid, and their factories as arsenals that never slept. The term Yankee ingenuity, once dismissed as propaganda, was now a phrase used respectfully in Japanese transcripts. Newspapers in occupied Japan reported the stunned tone of former admirals who marveled at how the Americans rebuilt entire fleets while still advancing across the Pacific. The realization that Japan had fought a war it could never win became not just an admission of defeat, but a profound lesson in the consequences of misjudging the modern world. In the decades that followed, Japan's post-war leadership often reflected on these wartime lessons when shaping their new national identity. The same understanding that broke the military's pride helped fuel Japan's transformation into a peaceful industrial power aligned with the very nation it once sought to destroy. Former naval officers would later tell journalists that America's victory had come not merely from weapons but from a moral and intellectual strength that Japan had failed to recognize. The story of what the Japanese High Command said when they finally understood American power is, therefore, not only a record of defeat, it is the moment a proud empire confronted the true scale of a democratic nation's potential. As Japan entered the 1960s and 1970s, the echoes of its wartime revelation about American power continued to shape every aspect of its foreign policy and national psyche. The nation that had once stood defiantly against the United States now found itself walking side by side with it, politically, economically, and philosophically. This transformation was not merely strategic, it was deeply psychological. Within the circles of Japan's post-war leadership, discussions frequently returned to the lessons learned from the catastrophic misjudgment of American potential. The same military minds who had once designed campaigns across the Pacific now served as quiet advisors in Japan's new bureaucracy, guiding policies that emphasized cooperation over confrontation. Former naval officers wrote essays analyzing the interplay between democracy and discipline, and how America's open exchange of ideas had proven to be a weapon more powerful than any fleet. In an interview published in Asahi Journal in 1965, a retired admiral reflected, "In war, we faced America's bombs, in peace, we faced its ideas. And we found the ideas more enduring." This statement encapsulated a shift in national consciousness. The Japanese elite came to understand that the true foundation of American power had never been limited to its military arsenal, it was rooted in its capacity for reinvention, its belief in the individual's potential, and its faith in progress driven by freedom. That realization profoundly influenced Japan's post-war development, embedding a quiet respect for American resilience even amid growing debates over foreign bases and cultural influence. As Japan's economy surged into global prominence during the 1970s, surpassing wartime America in industrial output, many historians noted the irony: the very recognition of American strength had become the seed of Japan's own revival. Through education reforms, scientific cooperation, and a shared commitment to innovation, Japan not only rebuilt from ruin but emerged as proof of what understanding, rather than opposing, American power could achieve. In this way, the words once whispered within the corridors of the Imperial High Command had evolved into a living philosophy, a testament that the acknowledgement of strength can, in time, become the foundation of peace.